Jerry Dipoto had an interesting radio spot with Brock and Salk down in Peoria at spring training, talking about a few different parts of the Seattle Mariners roster in 2024. And the big one that stood out to everybody was that Ty France may get some reps over at third base. Now, with that being said, we've seen a lot of people say that throughout the years. Ty should play second, Ty should play third. This year, Ty France does look better. However, listen to what Jerry Dipoto has to say here about Ty France playing third base, and then we can discuss more about what that means.
Ty France over there the other day, and these things happen in spring training. I don't mean to read too much into it, but he's a lot slimmer. He looks a little bit more like a third baseman than he did at any other point during his time here. Is there any chance we could see Ty maybe move around the diamond a little bit?
Yeah, I guess there's always a chance, and it's one thing that we've always done, and this developmentally from the minor leagues to the major leagues. All of our outfielders play all the positions. The infielders move around. We try to give them the various exposures because you never know what's going to happen during the course of a season. And some of the things that have been impressive in this early going, one is the physical condition of Ty France. He looks incredibly athletic right now. And I mentioned it to him. He did the work this offseason. And Perry Hill's always believed in him as a third baseman. So giving him the opportunity to rotate over there, it just like I talked about with the flexibility with guys like Rojas, Urias, Moore, etc. If Ty France fits into that bucket, all the better for us. Polanco is also a guy who can go play third base. He's got second. He's played a little first. Having that type of versatility really provides depth before you even get to the next layer of player.
So when talking about third base, obviously Dipoto mentions the Rojas Urias platoon over there because that's just more than likely what it's going to be if both guys are healthy and performing. He does, however, mention that Ty France has done the work. He is more athletic this season, and he could see a little bit of time over there at third base. Sure, he has earned the right to be able to go play third base if he wants to, and Perry Hill apparently has always believed in Ty France as a third baseman. I think that when you look at Ty France, the first baseman, in my opinion, he's above average defensively. I know that the metrics don't necessarily support that. It's kind of hard to say when it is first base. First base is such a hard position to grade out. But I think that putting Ty France at third, which is where he played a lot, when he was younger with the Padres and whatnot, it's not a terrible idea, but I think it needs to be your worst case scenario. Let's say Urias is hurt, the guys like Chavis and Brian Anderson just aren't working out, and you're like, we need to put somebody over there. I still think you put Dylan Moore over there over Ty France, but for the positional versatility that it does give the Mariners, like Jerry Dipoto said, it does make a little bit of sense. The fact of the matter is, Ty France needs to hit in 2023 or 2024, whatever year it is. I don't know anymore. Ty France needs to hit this year. And if he was moved to third base, it would almost feel like he was relegated more to a platoon role because obviously Josh Rojas would be over there at third base as well. And we've seen some interesting, positional alignment so far in spring training because in the 6 games that have been played at the time of recording this video, Ty France has started 3 of them at first base. Luke Raley has started 2 of them. Now we know that adding Luke Raley to this roster has been a pretty big deal because obviously he's an outfielder. He's probably going to be your starting left fielder, but he can also play first base for you. And we've actually seen him get a decent amount of run over there at first base so far. And I think it's interesting to hear that Ty France may move to third base with Luke Raley, someone who's been playing first base a lot, again getting the start in yesterday's game and looking decent over there as well. Is it possible that the Mariners could be setting themselves up for if Ty France does regress somewhat or is still the guy he was in 2023, that they decide to move him into a platoon with Josh Rojas over there at third base and have Luke Raley be the everyday starting first baseman? I think it is. I think that certainly is a possibility, or maybe Raley and France platoon over there at first base. What the Mariners have done this year and this offseason was they made a team that is so much more versatile when it comes to positional and defensive alignments that they have given themselves options. They don't have to rely on Sam Haggerty or Dylan Moore to go play first base if Ty France gets hurt. And I think that's a really, really big deal if you're a Mariners fan, because last year I remember seeing Haggerty and Dylan Moore playing first base, and it was ugly, man. So if Raley is hitting the cover off the ball and you want to get him in the lineup, you can sit Ty France for a day if he's struggling or move him over to third against a tough lefty. I'm not really sure exactly what it means, but I think that everybody might be taking it out of context what Jerry said here. They might be looking at it as, oh, Ty France is going to get some ABs over there at third base. Maybe. And 2023 was the first year where he has not moved off of first base, where he has not gone and played another position at least once in a game. So I think that in 2024, we probably will see him play, maybe a game at third base. Maybe he'll get a start here, a start there, maybe. I would not expect him to be off of first base or DH more than 4 or 5 games this year. If he is, good for him. And he, like Jerry said, he did the work. He is more athletic than he was in 2023. He's somebody that looks better, who's moving better. And if Perry Hill can turn him back into a third baseman that he came up as, I think that the Mariners would be in a good spot. With that being said, the prototypical power that comes with being a third baseman is not necessarily there for Ty France, although it's not there at first base for him either. So Ty France is kind of an enigma this year, if I'm being honest with you. It's so hard to look at Ty and figure out what the heck he's going to be in 2024, because it really does all hinge on how well he hits this season. If he's not hitting, he's probably going to be relegated to a bench role, whereas Luke Raley moves to first base and Dom Canzone plays left field. But that's the thing, is with the positional versatility, the Mariners have themselves covered. Now, there's one other thing that Jerry Dipoto said in this radio spot that I think is really, really important, because I've heard of a lot of people talking about it. Let's listen to it.
It's effectively impacted our season in positive ways. And you know, this year I think there is a group that is Cole Young, that is Tyler Locklear, guys who haven't played in the big leagues yet, who we think will have some impact. And they may get here as early as this season, but I don't think that we're currently planning on them being there on opening day.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good group, and we're very confident in the depth and the quality of the roster. Now we just got to hope they stay healthy.
So I kind of cut out the question there, but basically the question was, hey, this 26-man roster, it looks like every single person on this roster is going to have had major league experience, whereas before the Mariners have had guys who didn't. Think of Julio coming up having no major league experience. Obviously, there have been guys every single year who had no experience in the major leagues. They're just like, hey, go figure it out. I think of Bryce Miller and Brian Wu from 2023. Obviously, they didn't start the season on the roster, but I digress. When you look at this 26-man roster, it seems pretty set, more set than we've had in years. And then Jerry goes on to mention, yeah, that's probably the case as long as everyone stays healthy. But there is that lower level of guys, some of the minor league guys, like Cole Young and Tyler Locklear. He said that, and then Cole Young went out and hit a home run in the game on Thursday. Cole Young is a guy who I may be underestimating as to when he can come up. When we look back in, Mariners history, Dustin Ackley played in 200 games at the minor league level before getting the call. And in my opinion, that was too early. Cole Young is a little bit away from 200 games, but I think that there is a possibility, like Jerry said, that if Cole Young is just continuing to hit, that he does make his major league debut in 2024, whether that be because of an injury or whether that be because he forces the Mariners' hand. And again, with Tyler Locklear, it just makes sense once again that it could be if Ty France is struggling or if the Mariners just aren't seeing production where they want to, Tyler Locklear comes up and takes over that first base mantle because he's looked really good this spring as well. So while this radio spot didn't have a whole lot of substance to it, I think it does raise a couple of good questions for the Mariners. Because yes, Ty France is kind of the wild card in my opinion. When I look at Ty, I don't know what we're going to get out of him. He could be hitting in the 3 hole at some point this season, or he could be as low as like the 8 hole, in my opinion, with Ty France, just because his season is contingent on his bat. If he's bad this year, Ty France is gone. You give that role probably to Tyler Locklear in 2025, and I think that the same goes for a couple of other guys. If Arias is bad, then maybe Dylan Moore gets that spot, or if he's hurt, Dylan Moore gets that spot over there at third base to platoon with Josh Rojas. And then when it comes to like the middle infield, I mean, let's say you want to move Jorge Polanco over to third base. If third base isn't producing, you bring up Cole Young and slot him in at second base. The Mariners they're deep, man. Like, this has been the deepest I've ever seen this team in the time that I've been covering it. I think that I look at the positional versatility that this team has built over this offseason, and there's where everybody can move. Whereas last year, your backup first baseman was like, Tommy La Stella, who couldn't even play in the field right away. AJ Pollock and Jared Kelenic were in left field. That was rough. Whereas Luke Raley, now you have Dom Canzone, Taylor Trammell, Cade Marlowe, all these guys that can come up and fill in if you need them to. And then, obviously, who knows what's going to happen with Mitch if Mitch gets hurt. Cool, you go throw Dom Canzone out there in right field. Oh, darn it, Ty broke his hand. All right, well, Luke Raley's going over there at first base. Urias is out for a while. Sounds good. Dylan Moore's going to take over in that platoon role. The Mariners have enough depth to weather the storm, whereas they didn't last year, and it really showed through half of their season when guys like Ty France were out and Haggerty and whatnot had to go play first base. It was ugly, man. God forbid J.P. Crawford would have gotten hurt. Then what do? You send somebody like Sam Haggerty over there to play shortstop. It's just you're sending players that are not of major league caliber over there to cover those positions, and it just doesn't make sense. Is Ty France going to be a third baseman for the Mariners in 2024? I doubt it. But if Luis Urias is hurt, who is going to replace him? And Joe and I talked about it in this week's version of the Hit It Here podcast. Go and check that one out now. I appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.